What is going on, everybody? Sorry, the sun just popped out, so my eyes are a little messed up with this. I'm gonna go over this slate. Sheet should be here any minute, so we'll get him on in here. It's pretty much similar to what we have earlier. The one thing that's really popping is the Kevon Harris thing. I don't know how much I want to do that. Just to be honest with you, Kevon Harris. I think I would rather take a shot on Keon Johnson and hope something even better opens up. We don't know for sure who's going to start for Portland tonight, but I personally am a little bit on the side of maybe I don't know. I'm leaning more on Keon Johnson just because I think that we can get potentially better value as the night progresses, as we get starting lineups, etc. And I wanted to make sure that Kevon Harris is starting, even if I was going to play him, and it still doesn't feel great. You know, the minutes might be there. He just doesn't do a whole lot on the court. It is a good matchup for anybody who's 3K. But we don't even know if it's going to be him for sure tonight. I mean, it could be Caleb Houston starting, another guy who doesn't do much. RJ Hampton could end up getting the start, who didn't play in the last game, was a DNP-CD. So I'm just a little bit off of the early games for that reason. And I don't think I'm playing anybody in the early games except for Wagner or Carter from Orlando right now. I will probably throw in a Kevon Harris lineup just because there is he's 3K and he's starting, but I don't think he'll be in my big ones, put it that way. The other thing is, looks like I got something else here popping up. What's going on over here with my phone? So I'm going to turn my phone off because I got a lot of stuff happening. And I'm trying to check on injury updates, which I use my phone for. So it's a little bit hectic. Anyway, we should have sheets here any minute. Other sheets.
Yeah.
How's it going, man?
I'm going. It looks really nice out over there.
Yeah, it got sunny right as I turned this on. It was like shady, so I was totally fine. And now I'm squinting. But what's up to everybody in chat and sheets? I'm just looking through my stuff today, and I want to see the starting lineup before I decide. But the Kevon Harris thing just feels a little suspect to me to do, especially in the early game when we might have better value later on. Are you getting to Kevon Harris or Keon Johnson for that matter as the minimum cost guys who are popping projection wise?
Yeah, I am getting the Kevon Harris, but the good news is I'm going to know if he's starting pretty soon, right?
Yep.
So and like I mentioned, the two big value games are the first game and the last game. So if you want, you could take a stand in that first game and make your life easier. It's definitely not optimal, right? I mean, it's optimal to push back as much as possible, but listen, if I'm getting Kevon Harris at 3K starting point guard, I mean, I'm just gonna be forced to try it. That's kind of where I'm at. And again, part of it is, I have to say, part of it is laziness. Like I'll play more of him than if I weren't going out for dinner. You know what I mean? Let's put it that way.
Right.
But I still think he's a good play. As are the other Orlando. But actually, to be fair, the only other Orlando guy I'm getting any decent amount of is who you mentioned, the Wagner. I mean, I'm getting 20% Wendell Carter, but that's pretty much it. I'm not getting to anybody except for the Kevon Harris and Wagner.
Yeah, I got you. I got a big lineup on each site, and I'm playing Carter on my big lineup on FanDuel and Wagner on my big lineup on DraftKings. That's sort of how I'm treating it. It's just a little bit better price wise, but I certainly don't have any problem with just going with Carter. And I probably will get onto this again with Shaden Sharp. I've got him on FanDuel, and I've got Keon Johnson currently in my spot on DraftKings. And again, I want to reiterate something we talked about earlier. If we really don't think that Zach LaVine is going to play tonight, I think it's probably worth playing these Bulls that are going to be pretty low owned outside of. And the weird part is the guys who are going to be owned. I like Caruso, but Kobe White is another one who might get some ownership. And I think I would rather just let's play DeMar. Let's play Vucevic. So I've got those guys split up as well. One on DraftKings and one on FanDuel. Are you getting any of those Bulls?
I'm not, but I should. I'm getting DeMar on FanDuel, which means I probably should get him on DraftKings. I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, Bobby, I'm pretty chalky so far. I probably should get to more Chicago. I have a lot in this Charlotte Orlando game. I got a lot in the Portland Houston game, like everybody else, right? And and I probably should get more to Chicago. I'll tell you what I'm getting like a lot of on DraftKings. I guess if you just look at his price, you would understand why. But this guy I don't play too often, especially in a spot like this necessarily. But I'm getting a lot of Chris Paul. And it's like, it seems like a weird time to play like Chris Paul, like some random Friday game, like game 4 of the regular season. You know what I mean? Like against Portland, but against New Orleans. But it's only 7,300, so he's like showing up in a bunch of my stuff, and I don't see him really getting that much ownership. So that's who I happen to be getting to.
Yeah, that makes sense. The thing that I'm really trying to backload, not only just because I like the Houston-Portland game, but I do think you can always pivot over if anything happens with that Pelican situation, because there is so many question marks in that game still, and we're not going to know about that. If Embiid is out, to answer this question, and what's up to my man Nick in chat, if Embiid is out, yeah, absolutely load up on Harden. I don't think that's even I think that becomes the obvious play that's going to be super chalky. I also would load up on Maxey, and I probably would try to separate them, but I think that you're fine playing them both together without Harden here. Without Embiid, and I would again encourage in large field stuff to get to some DeAnthony Melton as well if there was no Embiid, because they could go small, and Melton's a phenomenal point per minute player. He just put up 30 against this team the other day. In the same game that Maxey put up, 60, 52. So
right.
That's sort of the way. But as of right now, I'm pretending Embiid's playing. They kind of need to win games, and anytime there's games at Toronto and guys are questionable, I tend to think they're more likely to play. Now, I thought that more so during COVID, the real COVID times, because just to even travel there was a hassle.
Well, I lost you.
Oh, you lost me?
Just for a minute.
Oh. Yeah. So anyway, so I'm just like, I don't know. I'm sort of into the idea of just, I'm really backloading. I'm just sort of doing the opposite of you. I'm not playing as much in that first game, not really getting too much on the Charlotte side. But again, I agree with you though. It is completely stackable. I think there's a lot of reasonable plays over there. I think that between Plumlee, Hayward, Oubre, Dennis Smith Jr., they all look fine to me. I just don't feel like in love with any specific one of them to really crush on this slate. And I'm not terrified of any of them really killing me either.
Right.
So I like the center position, but I prefer the idea of playing Şengün over Plumlee tonight. That's sort of my, Şengün is looking like he's getting like 0. I don't understand this projection on him.
I don't think I don't even think I'm projecting for much of anything. Yeah, it's weird.
SaberSim has him at 26 fantasy points. I'll tell you this: if Şengün is good to go, his median when they're missing everybody else, even if they don't start him, even if he only plays 28 minutes, I feel like his median should be well into the 30s, or like at least into the low 30s.
Right.
So that's where I'm at. He's averaging over 30 a game, and that's with the other bigs available. So even if they bring him off the bench, I really don't care. I just love the idea of playing Şengün. And I think you've got 50 fantasy point upside with this guy. This is not some slouch.
I'm sorry. No, you know who I'm not getting any of?
Who's that?
I'm not getting any of the aforementioned Keon Johnson. Am I missing that?
So I don't know that it's necessarily missing it. I don't see why. So my thinking is I don't see it as all that different of a play from Kevon Harris, except for that Keon Johnson is going to be in a better pace game. He's forward eligible. I like the guards today, so that helps. And I think there's a chance that you may see him start and not Shaedon Sharpe. They might bring Shaedon Sharpe off the bench.
Okay.
And the problem is there's enough wings in Portland to go around. So Keon Johnson might be a little bit fishy, but I also think there might be other value that opens up later in the day that I could get off of that if I need to.
Okay.
And my thoughts on the Atlanta-Detroit game, to answer that question, I don't know where you're at. I have zero interest in that game. Cade Cunningham, if they announced Jaden Ivey was out again, which I don't expect. I expect Jaden Ivey to play. But I would be all over Cade Cunningham. And I still think he's a good play on FanDuel. But I don't think I'm going to get to anything in the Detroit-Atlanta game personally. Are you getting anything from that game?
No. Maybe some John Collins.
Mm-hmm.
But not much.
I think that makes sense. And Rich B says I'm trolling here with the weather. Hey man, I've been in Coeur d'Alene in the low 30s and got up to 40 a couple times. That was nice. So I'm actually trolling. I mean, I was trolling myself. I was freezing for the last few weeks, and now I'm just happy to be back in the sun. I didn't realize it was going to be this bright though, so I kind of found a bad spot for that. The thing that's going to come up is that the Lakers thing. I have LeBron currently in my big build on FanDuel, and Anthony Edwards for that matter. I sort of like those two as the run back. If you get it right, you're going to crush. My suspicion is that Anthony Davis plays. They announced that they're going to bring Westbrook off the bench unless Davis doesn't play.
Okay.
And if Davis doesn't play, by the way, that might open up a whole other thing, which we can get, which again saves you that 3,000 spot, which we could potentially use on if they start Wenyen Gabriel, or if they start, unfortunately, at center only, the Damian Jones. So that Anthony Davis news is pretty big. That's why I'm sort of in the mood to sort of push everything back. I'm not getting to a whole lot before the 8 Eastern games in general on this slate, unless we hear something about the Embiid situation, if Embiid's out or something like that. But I mostly am just sticking with the Wagner and Carter from the first games, and I think that's important sort of to touch on. But I like LeBron either way. I just don't love LeBron, and I don't love the way he's not attacking this year. So that sort of has me, he's going to take 10 threes and not make any free, not go to the free throw line as much. I don't know. I'm a little bit worried about it, but I also think there's enough upside, and it's kind of I don't want to say must win territory, but the Lakers don't want to start the season 0-5.
Right. Right.
This is the kind of spot where I like to play LeBron. So I am going to play him. Tatum, sure. Tatum's fine. I have no interest in playing him. If you play Tatum tonight, just play him every night. Doesn't really, nothing stands out about tonight being a Tatum night. Terrible matchup. Basically the worst in basketball. He's cheap enough. He's got a ceiling. Go ahead and do it if you want to. I have no interest in it myself. But it's fine. It's just, I just have him as another guy, really, How about you?
Yeah, I'm not getting too much of that either.
And, you look at the games where Tatum has really he had the 61 and the 59. He shot 67% from the floor in those games. That's a lot to ask for, from a guy who's shooting from the outside mostly. And on top of that, he also shot, I think he made 10 of 11 and 11 of 13 from the 2-point range in those games. And a lot of those are long and mid-range jumpers. So you're just kind of asking a lot from Tatum. And I just think there's better spend ups on the slate personally than Tatum. And I would be trying to find my way to a LeBron. But the truth is, in my big buy-ins on DraftKings, I'm not spending all the way up for anybody. My highest priced player in my main DraftKings lineup right now is DeRozan. I like Jokic a lot. He would be the one I would try to get to. How about you in terms of spend ups?
Yeah, I am getting to some Giannis actually.
Okay.
In some of my lineups. I wanted to add something on FanDuel, who my top owned guy on FanDuel is, and that's actually Kristaps Porzingis.
Okay.
And it's not new. I mean, for whatever reason, Kristaps has always been kind of cheap on FanDuel. It seems like for years. And for whatever reason, I'm getting to more of him tonight than I usually do.
Yeah, and his game lends itself better to the FanDuel game because he comes out of nowhere with the 5-6 block game or something like that. That's completely in his bag. He can do that. He also is a pretty good steal guy too. So he's good for the stocks. He hasn't been that good this year with them, but this is a good matchup for it. He didn't have any the first time. Oh no, he did the first time these two teams played. But I think he had 2 blocks, but he hasn't had that really big block game. But he's always going to be a better play to me on FanDuel, even though he is the 3-point shooter. So it's sort of, you get the half point bonus on one side, but you get the full extra point on FanDuel. So I always prefer him on FanDuel as well. I'm not getting to him personally tonight, but I think he's totally legitimate play. I like him. Halliburton is going to be great this year. I think he is. I'm a little worried about that game. I kind of like the Wizards to kind of blow him out of the water, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I think the Wizards win that game and cover. But weird things have happened all NBA season, so I'm not going to say it's a lock of any kind. I just think that I would prefer to. I do like Halliburton in general. I don't think this is a night where I'm going to be using a ton of him. I totally like the play, not playing enough lineups to get to him more than maybe in 1 or 2 of my smaller buy-ins. And then the Bradley Beal thing is just, what are we doing? Basically, nothing that's happened this season has led to anything for us to believe that Bradley Beal is a good play. Hasn't paid off this price once. Hasn't come close. Even when he shot 70% from the floor, he's shooting. What is he shooting this year? 55% or 56% from the floor, and has scored 40 fantasy points one time. I just think it's sure you can play that. It's a good matchup, but you're just talking about guys at this point. I don't want to talk about every single play on the slate. So I will just say that I am not playing any Bradley Beal. Could he go off? Sure. So could all these top guys. I don't have any real thoughts on him.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like you said, it doesn't seem like something you want to play on the slate. I think you want to attack the value, and then I like I like your idea of Chicago. That could be a low-owned way to. Now we still have no news on that, right?
No, but see what's weird is early in the day we had Levine projected as out, and now it will depend on which site you look at. The Levine is projected out some places and projected in some other places. So I don't really know what to do with that one. Again, what I'm going to do is wait till that 8 Eastern at 8:30 Eastern, and I can always pivot over and play a guy like, you mentioned Chris Paul. I don't mind Devin Booker. I mean, Devin Booker has basically gotten there every time, kind of, you know what I mean? But he's kind of expensive to try and play him at $9K. Hasn't really smashed to that price. He put up 53 in the last game, which is pretty nice. I would take that. Feels like a better play than Bradley Beal, but it's only if Levine is in that I would be going there. And I would need, again, it's just for me, the name of the game right now is just delay outside of some of the Orlando pieces. That's pretty much what I'm doing.
You know what? I am going to play freaking Sengun. I like the Sengun play.
And if no one's going to play him, I mean, I don't know. I just feel like I'm going to keep riding this. And even if I'm right 1 out of 3 or 4 or 5 times, that's way more often than I need to be right for a guy who's going to be like 2% owned. I appreciate you, Nick. Thanks for the kind words. And again, these are not, all these other plays that you mentioned are good plays. They're just, they're fine plays, I should say. There's no special reason to play them tonight. That's where I have it. That's all I've got. I don't like the Tatum could always go off. Bradley Beal can get a hot game against a team that doesn't play defense. Sure. I just don't think this is the night I'm going to do it. How would we approach Sheets? And maybe you could help me with this one. How would we approach the Suns with little New Orleans news? I would say the same thing. For me, the answer is the same thing I said, as I'm playing a lot of the late game.
Keep delay.
Yeah, just delay. That's the answer. You're not going to have the news before lock. So I'm just treating it as if everybody who is projected to be in is in. And if they're out, I'm going to be able to pivot off with my Portland, Houston exposure and with my other exposures, because we might get some of that news, maybe before 8 Eastern. More likely it'll be before, it probably will be around 9 Eastern that we actually get that news.
Now again, we only because we're not going to be talking, later on. I mean, you like the Portland guys. I mean, like Nurkic is a play regardless of who's starting and doing whatever. But like Justice Winslow, Sharp, depends, I guess, if they're starting and stuff like that. Simons, obviously. Anybody I miss? Anybody you like more than the others? Or
yeah, I have a little. I'm terrified that I have Anthony Simons in all my lineups right now.
Okay.
But that's what I've got right now. I think without Lillard that I'm sort of treating it, and especially against Houston, that it's going to be him who's the creator. It's going to be between he and Nurkic, and I don't mind them both together. I think ideally you'd like to split them up, but I think they're both in the right price range. And then you run it back with Şengün and or Jalen Green, Kevin Porter Jr., Jabari Smith. Any of that is really good by me. So that's what I'm doing. And again, I'm expecting some late news to happen today. So I'm sort of all of my lineups are somewhat placeholder lineups at the moment.
That makes sense. And the other guy that I know you're not going to want to play, but I have to bring him up on Portland is the aforementioned Jeremy Grant.
Yeah. Fine with it. Not a guy I can quite get to prioritizing.
No, I'm not prioritizing him, but he's in my pool.
In that mix, yeah. And as does Justice Winslow. I mean, that's what worries me about Simons is if it's not a Simons night. So I guess if I do fade Simons, I would like to get a little Justice Winslow exposure, because guys like Josh Hart and Jeremy Grant, they're not really going to run the offense through them. So you're kind of counting on like a lot of other stuff. And Josh Hart, this is a good game for other stuff, but he's 6,600. He's not like super cheap, Right. And Jeremy Grant is 63. So I actually I prefer Hart to Grant for what it's worth. But I think both of them are fine in this matchup. And I wouldn't know what to do without a real starting lineup. I mean, if they somehow start you might see Nasir Little start instead of Shaden Sharp, and that might change things a little bit. I might have a little interest there at 3,200 if he does start. That's what worries me about the Keon Johnson, is that there's just enough other guys who sort of fit that same role. But right now I'm treating it like a placeholder. And if Levine is out, by the way, and I'm looking right now, I'm just going to double check that SaberSim still has him where they have him. So SaberSim has him projected for 0 points. It looks like you've got it projected for 0 as well. Zach Levine.
Okay.
And for the injury management stuff. So if we're going to assume that he's out, I think you place him to Sonmu.
Okay.
And I like that. So I'm sort of that's sort of my game today is I play one of the Orlando guys and maybe two, maybe use the value, but I think I'm probably going to just play one. And then I play the Chicago San Antonio game, and I play the Houston and Portland game.
So Embiid
is out.
What's that?
AD is out.
AD is out. Before I get back to that, Embiid, is he legit questionable?
Yeah, that's the word. But are they going to be willing to get off to this horrendous start? That's it's again, you're going to dinner. I'm sitting here. I'm probably gonna just have to.
I'll see the Embiid news before that. I mean, that game.
You probably that may come after lock.
No, but I'll be around until that.
Okay.
That game's 7:30, right?
So I'll probably just wait to figure that one out.
If he's out though, then like you got to do stuff, right?
Harden and Maxey. That's right. And by the way, Harden, Maxey, and probably Montrezl Harrell.
I was going to say who's
assuming that he starts,
right?
Montrezl Harrell, who has now scored 10 fantasy points 0 times. He's had 7 fantasy points as a season high. But you'd think that they'll put him out there unless they want to go small, and this is a team you can go small against, the Raptors, because the Raptors go small quite a bit. So he doesn't need to play all the minutes. But if he's starting, I would absolutely play Harrell. We know what he can do, and he's one of those guys who if you miss on, he might 10x his salary.
Okay, so with AD out, obviously LeBron gets a bump. Is there news on Westbrook?
Westbrook was announced today that they're going to start bringing him off the bench. I don't now that we have him out. I want to see their starting lineup, because if Damian Jones starts, then it changes all the value. You know what I mean? It's at 3K. I will absolutely play Damian Jones against a team with multiple bigs.
Because I think that Juan Toscano-Anderson might be out.
Yeah, Toscano-Anderson is out.
Yeah, so that was a guy that I was thinking about might take some time if AD wasn't playing. So,
yeah, I think Damian Jones is going to be Damian Jones or Wenyen Gabriel are going to be the guys who you probably see out there, because they're going to need to match up some bigs.
Ouch!
Yeah, it's not a fun roster, but they literally don't have one other guy who's big enough to guard any of these guys.
Right.
That's already counting on LeBron guarding one of Towns or Gobert. So. It should be a weird one. But I guess the other obvious one is that Westbrook all of a sudden becomes far too cheap at 6,400. And on FanDuel too at 6,700. I think Westbrook is a terrific play. Everybody on the Lakers gets a huge boost, obviously, but I would go. I'm going to play some Damian Jones on DraftKings, probably not on FanDuel, maybe on FanDuel. I am going to play LeBron, and I'm going to play Westbrook, and Lonnie Walker TBD. I got to figure out where I stand on that one. I think it's probably a little bit of a better play on DraftKings, because he's the shooting stuff, but they're not going to it's not like he's creating for others all that often. He did have 1 5-assist game. He can get a couple steals and stuff like that, but I think you play a couple Lakers and then you run it back. And my favorite run back is Anthony Edwards, for what it's worth. Don't mind any of the.
The only thing, again, I would caution is that with AD out, I mean, this game could get pretty awful.
True. In all fairness, I'm not really sure how much AD has a positive effect these days. Sometimes he's played well enough this year and he's helped their defense, but. I think it was already at risk. I mean, that was one of my bets of the day, just to give a free one out there, is I already had Minnesota minus 6.5. Or
now it's going to be 9, right? And
it should be. So
LeBron left foot soreness, and Russell Westbrook left hamstring soreness will both play.
Yeah. So I'll be into Westbrook and LeBron tonight. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm probably going to get out of here in a few minutes because I have to finish building, reconstructing my lineups. But I would love to get to any other questions in there or any other thoughts that come up.
This is a very helpful quote from Dwayne Casey.
Yep.
Saying about Jaden Ivey. He says he may be available. We'll see how he feels. Thanks, bro. I really appreciate that info. Yeah,
great.
Thank you.
If he's out, I do like Cunningham, but I think again you're getting better spots later on. Although I do like, I mean, it's hard not to like Cade without Jaden Ivey. But we need to know. I can't just assume. There's too much stuff coming up. And MJ's asking if we need any Magic guys. Really tempted to skip that game. I think it's fine to skip it. I like Carter and I like Franz. That's where I'm at with that one personally. And I would like to see for sure if Kevon Harris is starting. And I still don't even think I'm probably going to play him, to be honest with you, even if he is starting.
Well, that news is forthcoming, I imagine. I mean, the game's in a half an hour. Right?
Yep.
I mean, the game's in a half an hour, so they come in. They announce. I think announce R.J. Hampton is starting or something like that,
or Terrence Ross. And you start Franz Wagner as the pseudo point guard.
Yeah.
Bull.
I'm very glad I have Franz Wagner.
You know who may start is Bull.
Bull. There it is.
That could be your start. Then you don't get it. Then you get him at 20% ownership or 25 instead of the 0.2% ownership that he would have been.
Right.
That we were talking about earlier. But yeah. So basically, I think it's gonna be very Lakers centric for me. If you want that game to stay close, and then, like I said, if you're going to play it like it stays close, let's get on the other side of that game and let's play Anthony Edwards, who can definitely put up a ceiling game, and you just hope the game stays close.
Boy, I wonder what the line is on that game now.
And I'm trying to see if they've adjusted it yet. It doesn't look like it's crept up quite yet.
Basketball game lines, NBA. Probably off the board. Let me just see. Nah, it's 8.
Okay. So they only moved 1.5 points.
Well, because they probably thought that he was out anyway.
Yeah, it looks like Bull is expected to start.
Oh my, huh?
Yeah, there's some more interestingness. This is what happens, man. You go through all this stuff. I loved my initial builds, and now I'm just got to reconstruct everything.
Wait, we have a starting lineup?
Well, it's expected to start. It doesn't say.
Just him? That's all it's saying.
It says that it's a line. It says that's what they expect them to do. So yes, that I would assume that's that. And MJ saying it's coming from underdog.
Wait, but it's referring just to him or for the whole lineup?
It says that Wagner, Ross, Banchero, Bull, and Carter. We've seen the Magic like to play two bigs, so that's not that surprising to me. They would play Bull.
So not. What's his name?
Kevon Harris not starting as of right now.
Kevon Harris not starting.
Is what I sort of was alluding to, that I didn't know that was a guarantee, like it was being projected earlier. Right. So we're going to see some projections change.
Yes.
Pretty soon, I would imagine.
Yeah. So I'm going to probably try to get that done. I mean, it's a weird thing. Is I have to wait for them to come in, and then I have to do them in time to get them up, and then I have to make my lineup. So
we do at the very least. Hopefully, you have the SaberSim package as well with us, because that'll cover it at least as well as we can. It's hard with. It's going to be hard with basketball all year long. I don't want you to sacrifice yourself.
No. I get it. Let's see what's going on here.
All right, and with all of this, I think I need to rebuild here. I was into Trey Jones too, who I hadn't talked much about. Now that Trey Jones is going to turn into Russell Westbrook.
That's funny.
Because the 6K and I had 400 left, and that's my first move that I can do right away. Do that.
Bull starting.
Yeah, I'm really curious where he's going to project.
So basically, Franz Wagner is a strong play.
Yeah. But oddly enough, like, I hate that Bull is center only eligible. It's actually ridiculous, kind of, because he almost always plays with another big on the court. Right. I don't know why he's center only, just because he's tall. Like, the guy is like, remember when he was playing in Denver before, they used him he started at point guard. I know it sounds nuts, but he did. So yeah, Bull is, I think, a pretty strong play against the Charlotte team, assuming that he's starting. I think that's going to be a tough tough one to fade for me. So now I'm going to shift what I said earlier, that I think that forward is now the stronger position than guard. And I don't think I'm going to lose a little of my interest in that Chicago San Antonio game because of this, because I think that's just too good of a spot to ignore. So Bol now, I think that maybe he passes Sengun. Very unfortunate. Didn't want to do that. Really like Sengun tonight. Boy, this is going to be a weird build. I'm going to have to really mix things up a little bit. And it does make me more inclined to want to play somebody from Charlotte, because I want to play Wagner and Bol.
Well, Bol, they updated Bol over at SaberSim already. It's pretty freaking fast.
What do they have him at?
22 fantasy points.
That seems crazy. I think that's what he is. I think that's what he was before.
Oh, they didn't change it yet? Well,
Yeah,
I'm seeing his minutes projection is now 25. And they reduced Kevon Harris to 18 minutes. Let's just see. I'm just going to give
I think that's probably fair, but if at 25, this for a guy who is in every game this season scored more fantasy points than minutes played.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. We're gonna. I'm sure they're updating. They're probably just updating on the fly here.
Yeah, I think they're underestimating him a little bit. Sengun. Wow, that's interesting. If I do that, this is going to be an interesting build. I got to get to my builds, but I'm trying to see if I can do this while we're here. Here, let's see. Bol and Wagner. Really makes me want to run back somebody from Charlotte. I guess the thing is that, like, if they're like Bol, what if you play Bol, and I guess you play Bol and Plumlee together, just lock up the center spot. But I think the Plumlee thing is just feels a tiny bit fishy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like
what's wrong with playing Banchero?
Nothing. Just expensive. So like I'll just throw like a Banchero versus. I mean, he can get 50. He just did. I don't see why that's a problem. I have no problem with Banchero. Man, that guy's freaking awesome. He's really good. That whole game though. Now oh my god. Ugh. I still think Wagner and Bol are my two favorites, but certainly a lot of ways to go there. I think DSJ or Hayward are both legitimate run backs. To answer that question, I just don't know if I'm going to end up using either of them, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It's a better matchup for Orlando, pace-up matchup for them than it is for Charlotte, but Charlotte's missing Rozier also, as well as obviously LaMelo. So one of these guys probably gets there. I feel like you're playing a little bit of roulette as to which one it is. Yeah, that's where I'm at. Quick opinion on LBJ or Harden. I like LeBron, and if Embiid's out, I like Harden. That's pretty much the way I'm treating it. Yeah. But if you play LeBron, you can always adjust things later. Davis ruled out. Russell Westbrook will be available. We don't even know that Westbrook's starting. Actually, I don't care. I hope Westbrook doesn't start and nobody plays him. I don't think it really matters. He's going to play minutes. They need another creator. They can't play Damian Jones with who. I don't even know what you put Austin. I don't know how they're going to. Yeah. Look, you have a little Beverly. It's not even revenge though. He loves Minnesota, so I don't know what that is. But I heard some people mention Beverly earlier. I'm not doing that myself, but not really gonna. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, if it's okay with you guys, I'm probably gonna get out of here so I can finish my builds. Does that work?
I'm gonna go as well.
Okay. I'll be in Discord and I'll try to answer whatever I can.
Okay, and I'll do my best to get projections updated. And I will see you guys Sunday morning for luck.
Sounds good. Have a nice dinner, Sheets, and